If you struggle with keeping healthy boundaries, this one is for you. If you've ever been cheated on, or if you have a little bit of people-pleasing tendencies, this podcast was a lesson on a plate of gold when it comes to keeping healthy boundaries, not just against somebody, but healthy boundaries with yourself, feeling your feelings, acknowledging them, but moving on, and not suppressing your feelings at all. And Ariel does that brilliantly throughout the podcast, and you will see it through her responses and reactions to what Ned said. So let's start. First of all, the first thing that everyone is obviously celebrating.
Like, do you forgive Ned for what he did? And I mean, the answer is no, absolutely not. How can you forgive somebody for lying to you, for cheating on you? No.
She acknowledges that I don't forgive him. Like she acknowledges that she still co-parents with him. He's still the father of her children, but she doesn't forgive him because two things can exist together in the same universe. And that is what we talked about in my last video. If you watched it, life is not black and white. And she does that brilliantly. But what I really want to talk about more than this is when he asked her if she's still angry.
It's hard to hear you saying like, fuck no, I don't forgive you. I can, you're still, as much progress as we've had, you're still very angry.
Yeah, of course I'm angry.
This sentence could be a trap. And I'm not saying that he set the trap. Just because you're manipulated doesn't mean that someone is trying to manipulate you. And that is the reason I'm actually not gonna talk a lot about his intentions, because I want to prove to you that you can keep healthy boundaries, whether someone is trying to manipulate you or not, right? Sometimes we're manipulated easily without someone even tries, right? So what I'm not gonna do is really dissect, did he mean this? Did he not? This is not about him. This is about her. He meant it. He didn't mean to manipulate her. I don't give an F, right? When he says that, it's hard to hear this. You're still angry. She said, yeah, I'm still angry. Usually what people pleasers would do, I'm a recovering people pleaser, by the way. I'm not a people pleaser anymore, but there's still like a little bit of here, a little bit of there, right? But if it was me a few years ago, or maybe if it was Ariel herself a few years ago and she would hear this and somebody saying, oh, it's hard to hear that you're still angry. I mean, she'd be like, oh, well, no, don't feel bad. I'm sorry you feel this way, blah, blah, blah. She's like, yeah, I'm still angry. I mean, deal with it. You know, she's acknowledging her feelings and she is not backing away from it. That's what I'm feeling, period.
We were dealing with this, with this cheating situation, with this betrayal. We decided to find a new couples therapist.
She calls it what it is, not just cheating, betrayal. And that's what cheating essentially is. She talked about not feeling safe. She talked about everything felt unreal, like it was a lie. She couldn't feel safe with her friends. She wasn't herself anymore. Her world kind of shattered. And she acknowledges all of her feelings and she calls it betrayal. Right in front of him, looks into his eyes and says it. That is boundary. You know, the biggest boundary of all, in my opinion, is just being authentic. And that's what Ariel is. And why is that a boundary? Because when you live your true self, when you're being honest to yourself first, this is what I'm feeling, makes you uncomfortable with otherwise. makes you uncomfortable with lying, deceiving, hiding, cheating, everything that's not authentic, transparent, honest. So when you become uncomfortable with otherwise, you're not going to welcome it in your life. And I think that is what helped Ariel have such strong boundaries. The more authentic you are, the easier you set boundaries. And you can kind of reverse it. When you start setting boundaries, the more authentic you become.
You don't remember that?
No, I don't remember it happening like that, but it doesn't matter.
How do you remember it happening?
Did you see that head shake after she asked him, how do you remember it happening? You see, Ariel just has a smile. She has a smiley face, you know? Just because she's smiling doesn't mean that she's having a great time or she agrees with everything the other person is saying. Sometimes we smile when we're nervous, when we're uncomfortable. The mind is weird, you know? The Joker laughs when he's uncomfortable. That's a fictional character, but the fact that some people laugh when they're uncomfortable is not fictional. Some people laugh when they're in a funeral because the mind is trying to cope with all of that negativity, and it kind of gives you this impulsive laughter, right? So she's smiling and asking him, how do you remember it happening? And she then shakes her head. What do you think that shake means? Like, drop it in the comments. What are your guesses for this one? My guess is if there would be like a dialogue cloud on top of her head, it would be like, can you believe this guy? You know, like I'm saying like this is how it happened, and he's like, oh, I don't remember it happening. This, can you, like, really? You know, she's stunned. This is what I think the meaning of that shake is. And is this related to having healthy boundaries? I think it is, because when somebody kind of denies what you said and you're 100% sure of it, and you follow up with a question like, tell me your version, and you hear their version and it's just a loads of bull, you get a confirmation that you're right. It's not that she needs a confirmation, but another confirmation never hurt nobody. You know, it feels good. In this little interaction, he's like, that's not how I remember it happened. And she asks him about it, and he confirms for her that she's right.
I've been hurting this person that I love this whole time.
You didn't realize until then?
Well, you know, but then there's other things you tell yourself to kind of sort of compartmentalize, or I guess.
Interesting.
Ooh, a lot to unpack on this one. Come on, this is juicy. So, they're talking about their conversation in the car, and when she finally realizes that he's been cheating, and he says, like, that's when he realized that life fell apart and everything. And she simply asks him, he didn't realize until then. And it's a very valid question. That is another boundary setting. So yeah, he says, you know, you tell yourself lies, you compartmentalize and all of that. And she's like, interesting. And it's like, that is another healthy boundary lesson. She's listening. She's acknowledging what he's saying. That doesn't mean that she agrees with it. That's also back to the last video I made, talking about just because you understand something doesn't mean that you agree with it. You can understand, you can listen, I get your point of view. Doesn't mean that I agree with shit about it. Doesn't mean that I agree with little bit of it, you know?
This was something that you had done. You know, like I had no part in this. This was not like, you could even say that you had done this to me, you know? Like I was the victim of this situation. And yet when you told me, I had to like accept your guilt and your shame.
First of all, kudos to her saying, you did that. You did that to me. I'm the victim. Yes, girl, it's his actions. Because earlier he said, oh, it's an addictive cycle. No. It's an addictive cycle is code for, it's the addiction's problem. You know, I have no control over this. We're not talking about drugs and stuff, you know. We're talking about you've been cheating. You've been sneaking out. You've been, you know, like you knew what you were doing. It's been, I don't know how long even that lasted. I stopped watching the Try Guys after this. So I have no, like the last thing I know is that Zach was engaged and Keith was engaged. And Eugene had a boyfriend. I don't know if he still has the same boyfriend or not, honestly. I don't know. I don't know anything. But no, she doesn't have to accept anything. You don't have to accept as in, well, if she means by accept as in like accept the reality, accept that it is what it is, then yeah. But if she means by accept as in welcome, take it in, no. No, sweetie, you don't have to do that. That's his thing. He did that, as you literally just said. She does not have to accept nothing from him.
And I'm so tired of holding that. I'm so tired of holding it.
And of course she feels tired because she's holding something that's not hers. The shame, the guilt, whatever. She can give herself permission to let it go because it's simply not hers.
How does it make you feel to hear that? I mean, did it ever occur to you that like not only did you having an affair just it shattered our marriage, but it also, like, all of that guilt and shame, you like hoisted that on me. Like, you gave that to me. And now I have to carry that around for the rest of my life.
No, girl, you don't have to carry that for the rest of your life. Who the heck told you that you have to carry that for even 1 second? It's his shame, his guilt, his shit. You know, he made a mess. And you're out of it. No, you don't carry that. You celebrate that. You're like, I'm out of this shit. He's carrying that. Which is why this episode, the first episode, is with you. You know, he says in the beginning, in the apology that he made for the fans, that this episode is for her, for Ariel, to move on if she wants to have an online presence or whatever. But later in that same podcast, he asks her if she's going to be an influencer, if she even wants to. She says, nope. Her answer is short and clear. No, I don't want to be. I enjoy being in my studio and making things and blah, blah, blah. So the episode is for him, not for her. And he knows that he had to do that because he is carrying all of that. You don't have to carry no shit for not even 1 second. And I love how she asked him how he felt about that, and his first answer, the first thing he says is, the society looks at women, blah, 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 blah. She's asking you, sweetheart, about what you did, right? So you can see the look on her face is just blank. And that is a boundary. She is having a mental shield. He is bullshitting and she's not having it. She's looking at him as in like, look at that look.
I don't think it's fair that as a society you're put in that position. It's certainly not true.
She's like, really? Is that what you're saying? And that is another boundary, is just not letting the bullshit in. The podcast is full of these moments where Ariel is just having a good mental sheet, not letting anything into her head, standing her ground, firm and assertive, being emotional. People think like having boundaries means that you're a wall. You're not being emotional and you're not acknowledging any. No, she's acknowledging her feelings. She's acknowledging who did right and who did wrong. And she's glowing. This is what healing looks like. Healing is not life is rainbows and roses. It has ups and it has downs. Healing doesn't mean that you don't cry. Healing doesn't mean that you don't feel grief or sadness over something that you lost. She lost a dream. She lost what she thought she had, right? She had a certain life and she was blindsided, as she said. Healing doesn't mean that, oh, well, I feel great about my ex cheating on me because I'm healed. No. No. Healing is exactly what Ariel is at right now. And good on her. She looks awesome.